Today's lesson is on finding percents and covers pages 17 and 18. At the top of your page, they're going to go through how to look at 1/10. So if you use 1,000 cube to represent one whole, so that's this cube here, you can see that taking 1/10 of a number is the same as dividing by 10, which is when we have the decimal shift one place to the left. So 1/10 of 1 is 0.1. 1/10 of 0.1 is 0.01. We're just moving that decimal over. And so each time we're getting smaller and smaller. So for question 1, when they ask you to find 1/10 of each number by shifting the decimal place, you're going to show if there's an invisible decimal, put it in, and then we're moving it one place to the left. So your answer would be 0.7, right? If we get to these later ones where there is a decimal, we just move it over one place and it would become 0.064. Question 2 is basically asking us the same thing. It's just telling us that 10% is short for 10 out of 100 or 1/10. So find 10%. You're doing exactly the same steps, but it's a different direction. So you'll look and put the invisible decimal in, move it to the left, and put in your answer. Question number 3 is asking you to find the percent by breaking it into a couple of steps. So 30% of 15, first we're going to start by finding 10%. So 10% of, and I'm going to put in the same number I had above, 10% of 15 is, and I'm going to move my decimal one place back, 1.5. Then, in order to get this number here, I'm going to figure out what do I need to multiply 10% by to get the percentage they give me. So that would be times 3. So 3 times, my next box is with the same as the other one, 1.5 is 4.5. And so that's how you would fill in these questions. I'll do one more example with you. So for my next example, I'm going to look at 80% of 0.5. So first I figure out 10% of, and I use the same number here. So 10% of 0.5, and to find that, I move the decimal back one place, 0.05. Then I need to think, okay, how many 10% groupings do I have? Well, 8. So 8.05 gives me 0.4. You can either use your calculator or long multiplication to find this final answer here. Question number 4 gives you a chart, and it's going to tell you what 10% of a number is, and you have to use that information to figure out 5% and 100%. So, to get from 10% to 5%, we need to divide by 2. So anytime we're trying to travel from this row up, we're going to divide by 2. Then we can look at how to get from 10% to 100%. And to get there, we need to multiply by 10. So to get from our 10% row to our 100% row, we're multiplying by 10. So we're going to do the same thing with each row. 6 divided by 2 is 3, and 6 times 10 is 60. So when they give us 20, we go, okay, 20 divided by 2 is 10, and 20 times 10 is 200. So you do the same thing for each row. We're going to go over 2 steps to find 1% of a number. The first step is to change the percent to a decimal and replace of with the multiplication symbol. I'm going to give you an example below. So if we have 1% of 300, we're changing our percent to a decimal, so that's going to become 0.01, and we're changing of to the multiplication sign, and then we'll put in that last number, 300. Step 2 asks you to multiply by 0.01 by shifting the decimal 2 places to the left, right? So when we multiply by 0.01, it's the same thing as dividing by 100. So if we were to look at our answer here, we'd have an invisible decimal, move 2 places to the left, and that gives us 3. So this is how you're going to complete question number 5. Question 6 asks you to find 1% of 200 and use your answer to calculate each percent. So 1% of 200 is the same thing as 0.01 times 200, which means I move the decimal 2 places back, and that gives me 2. Now, knowing this, I can answer questions like 2% of 200 equals blank. Well, if I know that 1% of 200 is 2, then I need to multiply that by the percentage 2 to give me my answer, which is 4. If they give me something like 3% of 200, then I need to go, okay, I know that 1% is 2, so to find 3%, I multiply it by 3, which gives me 6. Question 7 is very similar, asking you to use the same method but giving you different numbers. So if they say 4% of 800, I need to start by finding 1% of 800, which is 8, and then I need to multiply that by 4. So 8 times the percentage is 32. So 4% of 800 is 32. If they give me a question like 2% of 50, I'm going to use very similar steps. So I'll find 1% of 50, which is 0. Right? We're moving our decimal back 2 places, 5. And then I'm going to take my answer and multiply it by the percent. So that will give me 1. So 2% of 50 is 1. For this chart, we're going to be looking across. So we're not filling up and down. We're looking at each line going across. So if we look at the 20 is 4%, we can go, okay, how do I get from 4% to 2%? Well, I could say 4% divided by 2 equals 2%. So then I'm going to take this number 20 and divide it by 2, which gives me 10. So that is the amount that 2% equals. Then I could look at, okay, how do I get 8%? 4% times 2 is 8%. So then I can take my number 20, multiply it by 2, and that gives me 40. Now, from 10, I'm not going to go from 4, I'm actually going to go from 2. 2% times 5 gives me 10%. So I'll take 2% of the number, that's 10, times 5, and that gives me 50. So that's how I fill in this space there. Now, to get to 20, I could simply go, okay, 10% times 2 is 20%, so that means if 50 is 10%, when I multiply it by 2, 20% is 100. Now to get 50, I might go from 10% as well. 10% times 5 is 50%, so 50 times 5 equals 250. To get to 25, I could divide that by 2, right? 50% divided by 2 equals 25%. So 250 divided by 2 is 125. Can fill in that box there. And for 100, we can put, okay, well, 50% times 2 is 100. So 250 times 2 is 500 That's the number I get for 100%. So there's going to be a lot of work involved in filling out this chart, but just use the information you know to find the information that you don't know. For questions 9 to 11, I'm going to ask you to try and use what you've learned in this lesson to solve these on your own. If you need help, either come and see me in class, or if you're stuck at home, you can send me a message to ask if we can go over some of these questions.